In today's podcast, I would like to talk about 10 typical things narcissists will say to justify their abusive behavior. As we all know, narcissists think they are never at fault and entitled to do whatever they want to do. They always find some silly excuse to justify their abusive or even criminal behavior because they see themselves as the victim in every situation. All of the following examples are gaslighting, of course, because there's no way one can ever justify abusive behavior. They merely want to distract or divert you from your reality. Number 1, everybody's doing it. That's typical projection. In order to make themselves feel better, they generalize and simply assume that everybody in this world is as shady and criminal as they are, without exception. In their mind, that makes them a good person, because when they blend in, they don't stand out as a bad guy. I remember that day I brought my laptop to my partner's apartment and asked him for the Wi-Fi password. You know, usually narcissists are very secretive about the crimes they are committing. But at times they are so blunt and give you too much information, it just leaves you speechless. Maybe they do it as a means to test your reaction. Anyways, I asked him about the password, and he said he didn't have an internet connection, but he hacked into his neighbor's Wi-Fi to get it from him for free. I said, "What?" And he justified it by saying, well, everybody's doing it. No. I, for myself, can say that I'm paying over $100 every month for my Wi-Fi connection. But okay, if he says so. Moving on to number 2. I don't think I'm wrong when I say we've definitely all heard this one before. I do this because I love you. Or I do this because I care about you. They especially say this when you want to hold them accountable for their bad behavior. The narcissist pretends to work in your best interest, but what's truly happening is that they want to gain your trust while systematically and covertly tearing you down and not building you up. This often comes in the disguise of good advice. And then you will often hear them say, "I only meant well," when they were clearly trying to sabotage you. Next, they may say something like, "You made me do it," or "They made me do it," depending on the situation. Narcissists think they are never at fault and act like they are the victim of somebody else's manipulation or persuasion, like when they're trying to cheat on you, for instance. Or if you accuse the narcissist of cheating, they are most likely going to do it. My ex-partner once told me how his former girlfriend used to do exactly that, and the way he justified his cheating on her was by saying, "Well, if she accuses me of cheating, I might as well do it." But it wasn't her who made him do it. His shady behavior had been making him suspicious all along. So he gaslit her to make her believe it was her own fault. And they will cheat on you again and again because now it's easier for them because they don't have to hide it anymore. As if they weren't able to stop their sexual urges like some wild animal or something. Or they say they were being bullied or wronged in another way, and their reaction to it was justified, no matter if it's completely out of balance with the initial provocation. To give you an example, malignant narcissists may pull a trigger on someone who merely called them an idiot. They simply want you or other people to take the blame. It's an attempt to condition you to their liking, and you end up changing for them and walking on eggshells because you're afraid it might happen again, which it most likely will, no matter what you do. If they ever compare you to their ex, run and get the hell out of there. It's a pattern. Or if they say something along the lines of, "You never allow yourself to be happy," so they feel justified to hang out with someone else. The fact that the narcissist is making you unhappy with exactly that type of behavior doesn't even occur to them. Remember, they had a choice. Harming or cheating on you is a deliberate choice. The fact they even try to hide or justify it shows that they know they did something inherently wrong. If you're dealing with a communal or spiritual narcissist, they may abuse the scriptures and say something like, "God or the church made me do it." It's almost as if they were scapegoating God or the church or use your faith against you. Now, we have to keep in mind that church communities themselves can be abusive, and they may use the narcissist as a tool to accomplish controlling you or others. There have been enough examples over the centuries. Narcissists turn religious organizations into cults. Just look up Jim Jones and the Jonestown Massacre from 1978 if you don't believe me. He was a malignant narcissist. In my opinion, the church is not on par with God, or your faith, or believe in God. They are two different things. You do not have to be a member of a specific church or community to believe in God. I have to admit I was questioning God a lot after having been spiritually abused in my own relationship and seeing how my ex-partner perverted love in the eyes of God. I was asking God how he allowed a narcissist to take advantage of him. In the end, I realized God doesn't. Narcissists will lead a life in misery until the end of their day. God has been punishing them all along. Narcissists would never put themselves into a position where they have to obey to somebody else. They put themselves on the same level as God or above and think you should worship them just as much, if not more. They're the ones describing God as this mean and judgmental external entity you should be afraid of, which is how they see themselves in that role. It's a form of triangulation even. But with healing, I realized God is not external, but something or someone we have inside of ourselves. He's a part of each of us, maybe in form of self-love. And by the way, there seems to be this, what I think is a misconception out there, where people say that self-love is selfish and narcissistic. If you want to replace it with the word self-respect, you understand what I mean. Another popular excuse to justify their abusive behavior and make you believe this was normal is to use their nationality. If you and the narcissist are of different nationalities, they will say it's the cultural differences and misunderstandings between the two of you. That's why you do things differently or think differently in certain situations. But abuse is abuse, no matter what language you speak or where you come from. Keep in mind that narcissists are doing and saying the same exact things in different languages, no matter where you go. And this constitutes a universally diagnosable personality disorder, as it is the case with narcissistic personality disorder or any other you will find in the DSM-5. And like using their nationality as an excuse, they may use their Zodiac sign to justify the way they are. For instance, my ex-partner was a Pisces, and Pisces are usually labeled as very empathetic people. He would always claim he was an empath just because of his Zodiac sign. That's all a bunch of nonsense. Pisces can be abusive, just as Scorpios can be one of the nicest people you've ever met. But narcissists like to manipulate your own spiritual beliefs that way. Next, and that's a classic one we've all heard before. Please don't tell me it isn't so. I'm just kidding, or I was just kidding. Sometimes it's followed by criticizing you with, can't you take a joke? Or you're too sensitive. Or you're always too uptight or prude even, just to throw the ball back into your court. When somebody says they were just kidding or joking, it's a huge red flag. They know exactly what they were doing. Pay attention to your own reactions or feelings to their alleged joke. Did it make you feel bad about yourself? Was it targeted at one of your vulnerabilities maybe? If so, it's definitely not a joke. Another common excuse we have also most likely all heard before is the, I may have misunderstood you. Trust me, they very well understood everything you've said. Narcissists have a tendency to dissect every word of yours, to know exactly which one they need to twist around in their favor. But after running in circles with them for minutes or even hours on end, they will finally just dismiss the argument with that. It's kind of like saying, okay, you're right, I'm wrong, you're always right. We've all been there. But deep down, they don't think you are. After debating for such a long time, they just have no valid points left to win that argument with you. Or it's more likely they've completely emptied their bags of lies and gaslighting on you and have run out of ammunition. I misunderstood you, plain and simple. Quite often it's not like they want to give up. They probably just have better things to do and deem you not even worth their time or dignity anymore. Dismissing something like that never leads to a satisfying result. And after all the gaslighting, word salad, and running in circles, you probably don't even remember what the argument was all about in the first place by then. Next way they justify their abusive behavior is to claim that you've changed. And that shouldn't come as a surprise. After all the abuse they've put you through, how can you still be the same person that you were in the beginning? Not only will you experience a loss of identity because you constantly adjust to the narcissist's new expectations, but also a lack of energy, unable to give them what they need. You can barely take care of yourself anymore as you fall into a deep depression with them. This is another case of projection, of course, because it's the narcissist who was the first to change for the worst. And that's how they also justify looking for other people outside of your relationship that will provide them with a narcissistic supply they were expecting to receive from you, and start having affairs and whatnot. And my last point, they will straight out say that they are the victim of your behavior, which is nothing more than a reaction to their abuse, also known as reactive abuse. Or they claim to be the victim of a past relationship, or their upbringing, their stressful job, or of an entire society even. whatever works in the given situation to justify their narcissistic or abusive actions toward you or others. They always have a pity ploy handy to try to weasel their way out of difficult situations and accountability, especially in legal matters. And they will find their enablers and flying monkeys to support them. Sadly, too many people get manipulated and fall for the empathy trap in the same way they attract and hook their empathetic partners. But it's a very lousy form of self-defense. They usually have no proof or evidence to back up their random statements when it's required. It's all part of their own perception, paranoia, or delusion. They always think everybody is out to get them and they are the ones being treated unfairly. Keep in mind, when someone can discern right from wrong by putting the blame on you, they are very well aware of what they have been doing. Narcissists are predatory schemers and target and abuse their victims strategically. Whatever a narcissist does is a conscious choice. It's not like they are under your spell as much as you are under theirs. You can see that when they give you that smirk while they are mistreating you, for instance. Pay attention to these subtle or often not so subtle signs from them. And just like everybody else, they must be held accountable for their actions. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and have a great day.